Okay, and then without, barring any objection, and therefore by consensus, I am calling the meeting to order at 7:49 p.m. Pacific time. First thing I'm doing with the meeting is I'm giving my consent to hold this meeting electronically over Zoom. And I am, second order of business, I'm adopting the bylaws per the link in our Zoom chat. And then I am electing the slate as depicted, Wink Maltman and JR Nexus Russ to a term ending at the 2022 or next annual meeting. Scott Krasge and Kurt Gimson to terms ending at the 2023 annual meeting. And Sarah, how do you pronounce your last name? Don't want to mispronounce it. Pugh. Sarah Pugh and Matthew Mkabe, hope I pronounced that last name correctly, to terms expiring at the 2024 annual meeting. And that being done, I resign as incorporating director, but I am asking for a motion to approve the slate of officers of Scott Krasge as board chair, Matthew as clerk, myself as treasurer, and Scott as executive director. And actually, as our rules are not Robert's Rules of Order, although that is my habit, do we have a consensus on those officers being appointed? And I'll take consensus meaning the lack of any objections. Are there any objections or concerns to that slate of officers? Going once, going twice, and as there are no objections, I'm assuming consensus on that slate of officers. Next step is now that everyone here is a duly appointed member of the board, with the exception of myself. One, is there any objection to me continuing as the presiding officer of the meeting, even though Scott is now technically the board chair?
No objection.
Okay. Having seen no objection, giving ample opportunity for an objection to be raised, I'm assuming consensus to continue on as the presiding officer of the meeting. Are we okay with ratifying the bylaws that I put into place, starting this whole thing in motion? And again, I'll ask for any objections, and barring any objections, I'll assume consensus thereof.
No objection.
Okay, everybody's had ample opportunity to object. So that passes by consensus, or there is consensus around that proposal. I'm asking for consensus around the IRS sample conflict of interest policy.
No objection.
All right. And so I'm assuming unanimous consensus on that for lack of objection. And is there consensus around me applying for 501c3 public charity status?
No
And I'm assuming it's consensus unless there is an objection. Are there any objections to that? Great, thank you again for consensus on that and all of the things prior to that. And last order of business, also to be clear, because I didn't ask for this, in addition to applying for 501c3 status, is there consensus authorizing the treasurer and the treasurer Scott to open a bank account? Now, just to give background on this, I won't be a signer on the account. Typically, they'll ask for the officers to be signers. So in that case, that would be Scott and Matt. But because I'm not a board member and I'm serving on an interim basis, I won't ask to be a signer on that account. Is there general consensus around proceeding with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So there's no objection to that. Lastly, just looking for consensus to go ahead and obtain the requisite DBAs as discussed for Queerburners and Queerburner events per Article 1 of the bylaws. And I will assume consent unless there is an objection to that. I'm not seeing any objections to that. So it seems like there's been consensus around everything we've done here today. Is there any minority opinion or concerns? And I want to make sure that everybody has ample opportunity to express any concerns, opinions. on anything that's happened here? And if not, I'll go ahead and assume that there's been full consensus and consent for all of the things that have been proposed and approved here at this meeting. All right, thank you so much again for your time and your active consent. And with that, if I can close the meeting at 7:54 p.m. Pacific time without objection, I'm going to go ahead and do so. Excellent, congratulations there. We've done all the requisite stuff. That's the first time I've done it without using Robert's Rules of Order.
Thank you, Nick. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So then at this point, in order to complete this, we would next go into